These are the 4 stages a boy should go to transform from a boy to a man, then from a man to a higher man. Iron Zone by Robert Bly is a book written for men, especially for the men of our time who cannot find their life's purpose, who feel like they are not living a full life, who are not properly initiated and as a result is still a man-child and don't know how to retrieve their real masculinity. So, instead of telling the summary of the story, I will be also telling the actions I took after interpreting the story. Something strange was happening in the remote area in the forest near the king's castle. When hunters go to that area, they disappear and never come back. 20 other people also went after the first group and also didn't come back. People started to feel that there is something weird going on that part of the jungle. So they decided not to go there anymore. One day, an unknown hunter showed up at the king's castle and asked, "Is there anything dangerous and adventurous I can do here for you?" The king said, "Well, I could mention the forest, but there is a problem. None of the people who go out there are not coming back." "Well, that's just the sort of thing I like to do," the young man said, and went to the forest alone, just with his dog. The young man and his dog wander about in the forest and they go past a pond. Suddenly, a hand reaches up from the water, grabs the dog and pulls it down. The young man doesn't respond by becoming hysterical. He merely says, "This must be the place." Even though he is fond of his dog and he is reluctant to abandon him, the hunter goes back to the castle and this time he came with 3 more men with buckets and then comes back to the pond to bucket out the water. And as you know, bucketing a deep pond is a very slow task. Slowly they finished it and at last they found a large man covered with hair from head to toe, lying on the bottom of the pond. The hair was reddish. It looked like a rusty iron. They took the man back to the castle and imprisoned him. The king puts him in an iron cage in the courtyard and called him Iron John, and gives the key of the cage to the queen for keeping it. Now, let's pause the story and see what's going on. According to Carl Jung, the fragmentation of our psyche or the loss of soul mainly happens when we experience trauma, stress, unresolved conflicts, and most importantly, when we fail to acknowledge the unconscious aspects of our own self. This mainly happens when we live inauthentic to ourselves. Now, if we are lucky, some situations happen in our life or in the moment we lose something very valuable to us, we decide to look deep inside our unconscious, where we find all the aspects of ourselves we repress and hide from ourselves and the society. Maybe because they are socially considered evil, or maybe they are overly sexual, taboo, or you are insecure. Similar to the concept of shadow in analytical psychology. Bro, first time when I read about this wild man, I didn't understand the concept completely. He's not like completely wild or unnice. The wild, raw masculine energy is not something of a forceful action with cruelty, but it's like an action with resolve, with a direction, with a vision. The wild man is not completely opposed to the civilization, but he is also not completely contained within it. As you know, a wild man is a threat to the society. So whenever a boy show those traits, they punish him, tease him, shun him. They lock the wild man in a cage. Now back to the story. One day, the king's 8-year-old son is playing in the courtyard with the golden ball he loves, and it rolls into the wild man's cage. If the young boy wants his golden balls back, he will have to approach the hairy man and ask for it. But this is going to be a problem. The golden ball reminds us of that unity of personality we had as children. Bro, maybe you remember when we were children, our life was very bright and alive. We felt this radiance and boldness, but as we grow up, somewhere in our early teens, we lost it. If you scroll down in this channel, one of my oldest videos will be about this Buddhist meditation and techniques. Then you will find some videos about the psychology of flow state. Flow state is like, you must have heard that this artist saying, when I am painting or I am playing my musical instrument, I completely forget everything. They become dissolved in that moment. Then later I started to learn more about Jungian psychology. All these were my attempts to retrieve the golden sphere I lost. to find that feeling of wholeness, to find my passion, to find my purpose. Now, the biggest mistake most of us do is we ask a woman to give our golden balls back. Especially if you are a bit romantic, you'll be like, finally, when I will meet her, I will receive my golden balls back. But the truth is, she also lost her golden balls back in her teens. And she is hoping her man, you will give it back to her and make her life alive again. Now, the first stage of retrieving the golden ball is completely accept that the golden ball has been lost. Now, where is the golden ball? The Iron John story says that our lost golden ball of a man lies within the magnetic field of the wild man. In our deep masculinity, it is protected by the instinctive one who is in the underwater of our unconscious. And the reason we lost our golden balls in our early teens is almost at that time, at the early teens, we lost in touch our authentic, intuitive self, our true self. Other mistake most of us do is, in fact, what I did is expecting a guru, a philosophy or psychology to give me back what I lost. And they can help us to show the right track we have to follow, but we can only retrieve what we lost by talking to the wild man in our psyche. The story of one of the legendary composer, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and his father is a real example for this. His father was a real tyrant. As a patriarch, he demanded complete obedience from his family, even though it was young Mozart who was financially supporting the family. During his adolescence, he experienced the same despair. The thing was, Mozart wasn't that interested in playing the piano and being a showman in front of all these people. He wanted to become a composer. He wanted to make music according to his will and his passion. But his father was against this, because the money they were making was mainly when he played in front of all this royal family and all. So at last, one day, he had to take a very tough decision. One day, he left to Vienna to pursue his dreams and never came back. He had to cut every ties with his father, and his father never forgave him back. But it was after this incident, he made most of his legendary compositions and became immortal with all his works. Bro, there is a reason why I told this story, and you will understand that soon. Now back to the Iron John. So our young boy asked the wild man to return his golden ball. The wild man replied to the boy, "I will return the ball if you let me out of the cage." The boy got frightened and ran away without even answering. Now he come again on the second day and again asked, "Can I have my golden balls back?" The wild man again said, "I will give you your golden balls back if you let me out of the cage." Now in the real life scenario, the second time will be like after 10 years. By that time, maybe you will be married, might have a lot of liabilities to take care of, students loan, housing loan, a lot of stuffs. So due to all these reasons, even at that time, we are not capable of freeing the wild man, right? So again, we walk away without saying anything. Now again, the boy might come a third time. This time, 10 more years must have passed. Maybe he will be in his mid-30s or 40s, tired, overworked, alienated, all life drained, soulless. This time, he asks again with his full heart, "Can I have my golden balls back?" The wild man will again say, "Yes, if you let me out of the cage." Now, something marvelous happens in the story. The boy speaks to the wild man and continues his conversation. He says, "Even if I wanted to let you go, I couldn't because I don't know where the key is." The wild man replies, "The key is under your mother's pillow." Now, this have a lot of interpretations. So, first of all, the first interpretation is the Freudian term of Oedipus complex. Now bro, I'm not going to explain what it is. Google yourself, or if you know, comment below so others can read it. Now the other interpretation is the pillow is also the place where the mother stores all her expectations for you. The dream of our parents and society that I want my son to be a doctor, I want my son to be an officer. Everyone wants their son to be obedient and civilized. So whenever in the childhood the son show his wild man side, they punish him, they lock them away. Now, how can we get our key back? Attacking the mother, confronting her, shouting at her is not a right move. First of all, it's because of her, our parents and the society, we are still thriving. Now, even if we confront her like, "Mom, I want my key back. Now I'm a big boy," she will laugh at us like a cutie. And if it's Asian parents, they will be like, "You the only way we can get our key back is we are supposed to steal it." Because mothers, parents, society, they know what happens if we get our key back. they would lose their boys forever. He will become a man. So whenever we ask or fight or shout, they will never give us our key back by using all their might. Maybe for some of us, we will get our key back when we pursue our passion, disregarding what our family or parents told us to follow. Or maybe we get our key back when we spend away from our homeland for a while, where we took the whole responsibility of our life without the protection of our parents or society. Most cases, if you ask yourself, what do I have to do to become that ideal man, that ideal self? What sacrifice or what discipline should I have to take? After a while, you will get the answer. Now the story itself leaves everything open and simply says, one day he stole the key, put it back to the wild man's cage and opened the lock. And as he did so, he pinched and wounded one of his fingers. The wild man is free at last, and it is clear that he will go back to his own forest away from the castle. We should expect this wound to happen. This is the wound that helps a boy to become a man and a man to become a higher man, and we all do carry this wound deep inside ourselves. But we don't know how to use it to find our life's purpose, our greatness, which we will learn as the story progresses. So now, what does the boy do? Mainly, there are three options. When the boy opens the cage, the wild man can freely run away to the jungle and the boy will remain in the castle. Or the boy could replace the key under the pillow before his parents got home and say he doesn't know anything about the wild man's escape and continue living, being the good boy of the parents and the society, becoming a doctor, banker, officer and live that life. In this case, it is again the split of that psyche between the primitive man and the young boy. So again, the trouble will happen in the jungle, and again, an adventurer have to go and lose his dog, and again do the whole bucketing process to find the wild man. Now the third scenario, what our boy actually did, he speaks with the wild man once more and says, wait a minute, if my parents come home and find that you are gone, they will punish me. That touched the wild man's heart. So he said, that's good thinking, you had better come with me. So the wild man lifts the boy on his shoulders and together they go off into the woods. And Iron John says to the boy, you will never see your mother and father again, but I have all the treasures more than you will ever need. Bro, this is the initiation for the transformation of a boy from boyhood to man. In olden days, in most of the tribes, the old men took the boy away at the age of 12 and bring him down into the old male area along with his other brothers in the tribe. He stays down there for 6 weeks and does not see his mother again for a year and a half. Now, in our modern nuclear family, this is completely absent because our fathers itself don't have the access to their own masculinity, and we cannot blame them. Our ancestors knew that the manhood does not happen by itself. They believed that it's only possible through ritual and effort with the active intervention of the older men. The active intervention means that the older men welcoming the younger man into the world of knowledge, myths and wisdom, where they learn the survival technique and the responsibility to become a man. And there he also learns how to use the wound that he received when he freed his wild man, how to turn that wound into greatness, how to become a higher man. Till now, we have only completed 1/4 of this story. As I told you before, once you read this book mindfully, it will completely change your life. And as you see, this book is completely filled with all these imageries and symbols which will directly talk with our inner psyche. And I have tried my best not to lose the essence of it. But I really want you to read this book yourself and use this video as a guidance. So the next part of the story is where we learn how to use our wound. The wound we all carry deep inside ourselves. Most of us, especially what I did was blame the wound throughout my life, instead of recognizing that it is the way where I can use to find my true greatness in life. So in coming days, I will be learning that and I will tell you guys whatever I learn. See you in the next video.